Marc Menchaca, welcome home to San Angelo, who helped raise you. Many people in this town.
This entire town did?
Yes, I'm so glad you're man enough to admit that. But you graduated from Central.
Mm-hmm.
You and your wonderful sister, Marcy, that we both love very much. She helped raise you.
I've always been Marcy's sister. Thanks for making me conscious about that again.
You have an interesting path of your life after you left San Angelo. You went to Texas A&M and thinking you were going to major in business and something, ag, and then had an experience that gave you a taste of the theater that you had never done before.
Right.
And then went to New York, had a summer experience, and my stars, you now have written and produced, and it's out there, a great film that has shown here at our museum, and everybody loved it. Now, fill in the details for our audience. Tell us first about this film, and then we'll do a little catching up. We're so proud of you, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
My grief.
So the film is called This Is Where We Live, and it's about a family outside of a very small town in Texas. We shot outside of Llano, and the family's house was actually one of my old football coaches, Coach Bodie, who passed away a few years ago. I've stayed close with his family, and so anyways, the film is about this family that lives outside of this small town, and the mother is the caregiver to her son who has severe cerebral palsy, and her husband is in the early stages of Alzheimer's. And this, she ends up having a guy come out to do some work at the house to build a ramp for the son's wheelchair, to take a little bit of the weight off of her shoulders, and sees that they strike up a bit of a rapport at dinner, and then asks him to come and hang out with her son while she goes to work. And so he ends up becoming the caregiver, and it's about the relationship between this guy, these kind of two unlikely worlds that collide, and this unlikely friendship that is formed between them, and then what happens in the family as a result of this almost adopted son that comes in.
You told me prior to this interview that you had the opportunity when you, after you finished Texas A&M and realized you needed a broader experience and went to Austin, that you did some tutoring and work at a high school and met a young person with cerebral palsy. Who would have thought then that your film could have possibly been influenced by that experience?
I mean, it definitely was. My friend in Austin that I was with for a few years he was the impetus for the character of August, and he's a very special person to me, and my relationship with him it's been one of those that I've always kind of marveled at. He doesn't speak. He says one word. He says yeah, and yet he speaks volumes, and not speaking at all, or through the one word, or his eyes, or whatever. He speaks. I mean, it's pretty incredible. It feels like he's speaking a novel at times, and I wanted to capture that somehow and be able to share that, because we most of us don't get the opportunity to be in those relationships, and I ended up finding that this guy, when I met him, he has CP, and I didn't know the capacity that he was. I guess I didn't realize that he was a person just like you and I, who is smart as a whip. He has a point of view and doesn't want to be just kind of led around, so to speak. And that he there are things that he wants, and it sometimes is it's a task to. I mean, you have to really work at figuring that out. But it's something, it's really beautiful when it happens.
I have two nephews with cerebral palsy, and what your film has the potential to be used to do is open an experience vicariously for people who haven't had the opportunity, as you did, after you had already finished college, and in my family has. What an incredible vehicle for opening people's eyes to what other people live, their world, their reality. What of this did you do? Did you write it? Talk about that.
I did. I wrote the script, the screenplay, and my co-director, Josh Barrett, he served as as I was writing. I would send, whenever I'd get done with a draft, I would send it off to him and have him come back with notes and kind of say, this needs to happen. I mean, there's a definite structure to how a screenplay is written, and it's all so that you can keep people's attention, and there, there's kind of these ups and downs and points that you have to hit, and Josh was great at.
Is this your first screenplay?
It was.
Wow.
So he served as story editor, and then I finally finished probably while we were shooting. I don't remember.
You
exactly.
live in New York now, and what do you do there?
If I'm not working, I'm looking for a job. I mean, it's auditioning. I write. If I'm not working, I usually, I write as well. So I try to treat that as a 9-to-5 job if I don't have a job.
Being in the creative world is a long-term investment in what you are doing. What is going to happen now with this film? What do you do with it?
It's distribution for a film like ours. I mean, we have great performances all the way around. We don't have many names really that like box office draws. We got Barry Corbin, and he's amazing, but we don't have the A-list people that people just go to see their movies. So we're actually working with a distributor who came on recently, who loved the film and just thought that it had a voice, that he wanted it to be heard. And so we're working with a couple of theaters right now. We're going to run in Dallas and New York, and then hopefully we'll go to like Houston and San Antonio, and then go out west, maybe to Portland. We're trying to hit some of the smaller markets with it. So, and then following that, probably in June or so, we're in the process of finishing a deal with a distributor who does video on demand and iTunes and Netflix, and so we'll be going that route probably this summer.
Well, you're learning a lot, aren't you, as you go?
Yes.
Well, that's part of it. Well, you have a wonderful family here in San Angelo, and an extended family. Many people will know your mom and dad, and your sister Marcy, who is at House of Faith. This city loves the Beavers and the work that the House of Faith does. So you've been blessed with your background of experiences and those who've loved you along the way. Some of your teachers I know will enjoy knowing what you're doing. Will they be surprised if they haven't kept up with you this 20 years? Will they be surprised that you have accomplished making a film like this?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if
because you did athletics.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have time to do one-act play. You weren't in the theater of San Angelo. Isn't that
right? Yeah.
Wow.
Never did it in high school. I wanted to, but I never had the time to do it. So.
Well, besides the dream that you have, that this project that you've invested a long time of your life for it to be profitable and successful, I would think that the storyline would, and the impact that you would hope that would also be part of the success, that it would impact people. You couldn't have written a script like that and not thought about that.
Yeah, no, I hope that it, as the side of me that's a writer and an actor, I hope that, I feel like we go to movies, we go there for entertainment, whether it's to just sit back and have an hour and a half or 2 hours of laughter, or to in some way be touched by what you see on screen, by relationships. And I hope that this relationship does affect people in a real way, and that a lot of the response has been that they have a family member, or that just how the CP was portrayed was very real and very true, and that we gave that character a voice, and that's really that's what we hope, is that people see that people with CP or with any disability do have a voice, and that's what I really hope comes from it. Because we don't, the truth is that we don't always give them a voice. Mm-hmm. We want their voice to be what we want to hear, and or at least, I'm speaking on behalf of me, but I think in general, the population, I think we don't understand that voice is real, and it can be very loud if you allow them to speak. And I hope that people are able to see that in this film.
Well, your talents are amazing in that you not only act, but that you can have taken the hours to write, which is, there's no way of knowing probably how many hours, and then the production. What part of it so far, up to this point, has been your greatest pleasure?
I think being that it was my first screenplay, the writing process was, I found, just, it was really just so much fun. And because I found that once something clicks and you get into the world of those characters, it's a weird thing. I've heard it said before, and I'm like, people always say that, like, I don't understand it, but they all of a sudden start to take on a life of their own, and you hear their voices as you're writing, you know what they would do, what decisions they would make, in this situation. And I've been an actor for a long time, and I would bet that I have not worked solidly that many hours on something, and didn't want to stop. I mean, there were days that I would work 14, 15 hours just writing, and it was rewriting. I mean, a lot of writing is getting rid of the stuff that's no good. I mean, you kind of have to just like throw it out there and then take 3/4 of it away and start back again. But that was one of the most, one of my favorite parts about it. And my other favorite part was, and I said this last night after we showed the film, somebody asked that question, and the first time that I wasn't working as an actor in front of the camera, the first time that I got behind the camera and I was watching monitor of this one scene where the family comes home, and it was just one of those, it was a scene that I ended up loving when I wrote it, and there's not really any words in it. But I remember getting behind monitor and watching that scene come to life. I hadn't seen what I had written come to life, and I remember watching it on the monitor and just like tearing up as I was watching it, because it was better than I ever could have imagined when I was writing it. Just actually seeing the people, the actors kind of take what I had written, and then they add their own life to it, their own little story to it, and it was just really beautiful to watch. I was kind of like, I was glad that they were doing it and it wasn't me, because I don't know if it would have been as good with me.
Well, but thank goodness that's true.
Yeah.
It was exceeded what you had even hoped when you put it on paper. All right, what is your plan besides all the details that have to go into finding markets for your film? Are your wheels already turning about what your next project will be?
Yeah, I've begun writing another screenplay. I'm working with a friend of mine, and we're a lot of times you try doing these films, you try to write for a budget, and we've got something with 3 guys, and it'll be. I will say it is dealing with depression, but it's not going to be just solid drama. But it's 3 guys on a kind of an annual trip, and what happens to one of the guys and the other 2, how they respond and carry out the what's necessary after.
So is it too far? Am I taking too big of a leap to say your first project was about relationships with someone with cerebral palsy, and now the second one touching on a person that is dealing with the challenges perhaps of depression? So you have real life issues that you seem to be that be your thread of what you choose to write about.
Yeah, I don't know. I always want to touch on subjects that aren't really, I guess that are important. I think I want what I do to be important, and I want it to be relevant to people in some way. And I think I've seen and dealt with some depression, and I think it's something that's it's a tough subject, and it's something real that you never know. You see the kid at Fort Hood the other day. I don't know if it's always something can happen like that.
Mm-hmm.
They said that, he showed no signs of doing anything like that, and it was just kind of like something snapped, and that's what happens in this next thing that I'm writing.
Is that a part of what, you're not even 40 yet, you're still a young man. Have you even thought, this is what I hope my legacy will be? What do you hope? You put it in words. Don't let me put words in your mouth.
What I hope, gosh, I don't know if I've ever thought about that.
Well, you're young. People my age, I'm thinking about my legacy.
Yeah.
So, well, think about it.
I mean, I think if I had to say anything off the top of my head, I want to create, I want to create films that really speak to people in a very real and deep place.
Not just for entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, and back to what we were talking about before we were actually doing this, but I remember watching Dead Poet Society when, I don't know how old that film is, but that film did something to me. It woke something up in me that I've never forgot. I mean, that I don't always remember a lot of films. But that and a few others that are very vivid in my memory, and really they're vivid in an emotional place. Like that film did something for me that it kind of changed the course of like what I wanted to do in life, and it changed something emotionally that I wanted to. I was like that. I don't know what that is, but whatever I just watched, and those characters, it made me want something more. And I hope to do that. I'm an actor by trade, and the filmmaking is it's kind of a hobby right now. But I hope that we're able to continue, and hopefully our investors will, be able to make money back and continue to give us money to do other projects, that we can speak hopefully have a story that speaks in a larger way.
Is there a possibility, even though your film has already been shown at the museum, that another way that people in San Angelo could see this film?
I mean, like I said, we'll be on Netflix and iTunes and everything in the summer.
And tell us the name one more time.
This is Where We Live.
This is Where We Live.
I'm always open to do another screening if we can make it happen. I'm always open to do that.
Well, Marc, your parents raised two kids that are trying to make their world better in two different ways, and we're very grateful. We're extremely proud of you.
Well, thanks. Thank you so much.
We're going to watch and see how you keep achieving great things.
Well, thanks, Dr. Bonds.
You're going to make this world better than you found it.
Let's hope. We can only hope.
Yes, that's all of our dreams. Thank you so much for giving us a little time.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.